Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman. I'm the host of Real Men, Real Talk Live. Welcome back to the studio. Again, my name is Jay Rothman. I'm the host of the show. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Vanessa Petronelli.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks, guys. So excited to be here with all of you. It's such a fun intro. I love that.
Well, thank you for joining us this evening. Also in the studio, we have Evis Heath, the man of the land from down under. He calls Australia home. We have Josh Ritcher, Southern California. Welcome to the show, Josh. And of course, we have Jeff Fasano, also joining us from Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to the show, lady and gentlemen.
Nice to be here again, brothers. Special guest tonight. Looking forward to diving in deep with the sister on the other side of the pond there.
Yes.
As we take a moment here to welcome our viewers and listeners, if you should be coming in from any of our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, welcome to the show this evening, episode number 89. And if you are picking us up on replay on Roku TV and or Amazon Fire, coming in from Your Health Network, we'll see you on the other side on a replay. But this evening's show is all about, are you the MaSTAR or master of your domain? And this is a topic when we got together yesterday in a production meeting with Vanessa. When we have a female guest join us on occasion, maybe 4 or 5 times a year, we invite our guests to introduce a topic perhaps that is they're passionate about, or they are working through their own challenges and insights in the moment. And so tonight's show is all about, are you the master of your domain? Vanessa, I'd like to invite you to just share a few highlights about why this topic was so meaningful for you in our production meeting yesterday. And again, we welcome you to the show this evening, and looking forward to deep diving into can you become the master of your own domain? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's such a passionate topic for me because we're really in a territory right now where the external world is, in my opinion, and maybe you guys don't agree with me, I don't know, it feels like it's collapsing, that there's just so much change happening. And if we're looking outside of ourselves for some kind of anchor in our reality, we can really lose the opportunity to master how we're showing up, how we're feeling, what we're creating day to day. So this mastering of your own domain is really being able to master how you are as a human being in relationship to the world, and bringing the attention outward and turning it inward. So I think this is such a crucial time to do that, because if we're clinging to anything outside of ourselves, which feels very uncertain these days and very unknown, and for the most part, it's always been that way, but with just all the upheaval happening, on the planet right now, the sense of anchoring and centering, in my opinion, has to come from within. And that's where we're really going to find that sense of stability. So it's really working on mastering that. And that's why I love this topic so much, especially, during the work that I do with so many leaders and wayshowers and visionaries. When we talk about like what's next in the world, we really have to talk about ourselves first, and how we're showing up to the world, and how we're showing up within ourselves.
Beautiful. You mentioned leaders and waysayers, or wayshowers, I should say. I'm going to invite you, for those that may not be familiar, what is the difference from your perspective between a leader and a wayshower?
Well, I actually loved what Jeff had to say about this topic. So I'm happy to answer this and give you my opinion. But Jeff gave a really clear answer around this. You know, when I talk about leadership, I will say this, and Jeff, I'm going to pass it over to you on this because I love the definition you gave when we were talking about this yesterday. I really believe leadership is less about leading others and it's more about leading yourself. And how I find leadership or light leadership, over the years in a more spiritual sense is, we can only take others as far as we've gone ourselves. And so everybody on the planet is a leader. It doesn't matter the degree or the title you have behind your name or what you do professionally. I think it's less about that. It's actually more about who you're being personally, and behind closed doors, is there a coherence, between how you're showing up publicly and who you are, behind closed doors and privately. So that's kind of how I've defined leadership. But I love what you had to say today, Jeff. So I'd love for you to share with the audience what you had mentioned, because it's so good.
Well, for me personally, when you talk about leaders and use that word, it kind of, I'm your leader. So it kind of separates you from everybody else. You think you're put up on a pedestal up here, is down here. Wayshowers are people who are being who they are. Mm-hmm. They're just being it. They're modeling it. They're what they're talking about. They're doing is the way they're living their life. And we are all equal. We are all one. So it's simply a wayshower might have more knowledge in a certain area in quote unquote the spiritual world, but it's not about differentiating yourself, separating yourself in duality of saying, I'm your leader, listen to me. It's about, I'm the wayshower, and I'm doing that by being who I am. I'm modeling it, and then we could all move forward together. Because as you just said, it's not, when they use that term, the spiritual leaders of today. Well, for me, the spiritual leaders of today are the people who are doing this work and simply embodying it and being it.
Yeah.
Some of those spiritual leaders, and I know I'm editorializing here, yeah, they could be on this show. They could watch this show. And that's my editorializing part. But that's the difference for me.
Yeah.
And I think also too there, brother, too, like we've got to really respect that each person here is on a different soul path as well. Mm-hmm. So we're not actually here to show you your way. We may be a guide more so as a way shower, and be able to really give you some tools that have helped our own journeys along the way to help you discover what is part of your mission.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, beautifully said. Because that's been my experience too, is that, all the years that I've read everybody and, sort of study, I was seeking actively, like, out there seeking rather than looking inside of myself. When I had the biggest changes and the biggest ahas, it was something that somebody said inspired something in me, or just tripped an awareness within myself. And so it was my own discovery that was the aha, and that was the big change. It wasn't all of this stuff outside of me, but listening to others was ways that it sort of just like sparked it. It lit it off, that awareness that was within me that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A good, wonderful spiritual wayshower is exactly what Ev just said. Sharing tools through our experience in life. For those who we are proxies for, who come to us based upon that resonance and vibration and our experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're just sharing tools and giving tools to others so they can find their own way. But they have a direction based upon the tools that we're giving them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll say one thing on that, just to kind of add to what you're all saying, which is just so well put. I think where there's been a real flaw in like leadership, whether it's in the spiritual realm, political realm, other realms, even in corporate, hierarchies, so to speak, is there's this piece around, I'm the person that has all the power and you're disempowered because you're not under my authority. And I think the thing that we're seeing that's happening on such a big scale right now is we see so many people who are under this old premise that there's somebody that's going to lead them and save them, and they're giving their authority and their power over, you know, to these individuals. And this is the mess we're in. I've been saying this since 2020 began. It's the year of people taking back their power and learning how to discern and empower themselves. And the best way showers, leaders, guides at this point are like, I don't want to be in charge of your transformation. I don't want to be in charge of making choices for you. That's on you. I just want to help to empower you to discover within yourself how you can be in your own authority, how you can discern what's true and what's not true for you, and to stay in your own power. And that is where I think, you know, leadership in some ways, if we have to look at it from that perspective, it's going to, we're shifting into that, because we're seeing that this old way of doing this and how people in spirituality and in the world have positioned themselves, it's not working, and it's actually not empowering anybody.
So here's the challenge then, Vanessa and gentlemen. How do we empower ourselves when we find ourselves living in old stories or self-doubt or lack of confidence?
Go watch replays of Real Men, Real Talk Live.
Okay, that's one option. There's probably over 150 hours worth of
Really?
replays on YouTube channel in the playlist. That's definitely one option. But
Go
beyond it,
to Roku TV and Fire TV and watch Real Men, Real Talk Live.
I think we have a new promoter.
Yeah.
Look, I'll leave it with the sister. But first step for me, like I've mentioned in a lot of shows, you've got to be self-aware of where you're currently at within your life. You know, we've had 2-3 years now to be able to take the inventory and be able to pause and know where exactly you're at. So from that point, then, you know, we can really walk into these shadows that we've all been given the time to walk through, and be able to let go of some of the heavy baggage that we've been not only carrying in our own lifetime, but like we've mentioned on show after show, generations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we need to start thinking about some of these blueprints, like we talked in last couple of weeks ago, of what really does bring us a little bit of joy and happiness within our lives. What is it? You know, a lot of people don't have these blueprint and simple questions. And so they fall into the trap of looking for the next spiritual leader or Shakti or guru out there, and are being led in a direction that really is not for their own purpose.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's dial it down then. I'm gonna challenge. I'm gonna bring you up, put you in a hot seat, Josh Ritcher.
Oh boy.
Tonight's show is all about, are you the master of your domain? And I'm going to invite you, Josh, to share just a little bit of a story of what you, the muddy waters that you have been navigating through for a little window of time that has brought you to your own, let's say, your own epiphany, your own empowerment around becoming a master of your own domain very recently. Tell us more. What's going on in Josh Ritcher's world right now?
Well, I've been in television production for 20 years, and it's no secret to my friends and family and people on the show that, you know, I'm seeking what's next. I had a great career, and I thought that was my startup years ago, and that imploded and took me down with it. And that breakdown was my breakthrough. And then it was coaching after that, and parts of that didn't, it just wasn't flowing. And so, you know, that kind of fell by the side. And then I pushed recently for the documentary, and I'm not finding the support with that either. And so I stepped out to do some consulting / potentially partner with this outside business and back in October when I finished Shark Tank. And it's been tough. And I blew past, it was a realization I had today. I blew past some red flags. I compromised in some of the areas that I normally wouldn't, because I was hopeful that this business was already in swing. I could catch it on the upswing. My value add would boost it to the next level. Maybe we'd all get this huge kick, and of course, a nice financial return. And so I didn't listen to that little voice. And I didn't listen to me and my truth. And I bent in some areas that I'm not necessarily proud of, but it happened. And I'm able to look at it honestly here these last few weeks. And I kind of stepped back and looked and noticed what my life had kind of become over these last few months. And it wasn't what I wanted. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't in my space of joy and utmost happiness. I can tell with the way my brain works, if I'm laying in my bed awake at night, problem solving or figuring things out, that's something I truly love. I love this show. This show is one of my greatest joys. And being with you guys in this space, this incredible space that we hold for each other to grow and to learn and to be human beings on this planet. And so I decided yesterday to step out, and that there wasn't going to be some savior to come in, or the financial upswing wasn't going to be enough to make me happy. And that if I wanted to be happy again, then I was the one that had the ultimate control over that. Now, it came with a lot of fear. Normally, I would like a backup plan before I quit, and I would like to feel safe. I just last month paid off all my debts after 6 years after my business crash, and I was starting to enjoy that the money coming in was my money, and I didn't have to pay it out to anybody anymore. I didn't owe friends and family, and that was feeling really good. And so at this critical point, I'm not surprised that the universe dropped this lesson right now, because it's not ideal. It's super scary and terrifying to be jobless with no income. But it was best for me. And I can't deny that. And I can't ignore that little voice anymore. And I can't not listen to me. How much I've grown, and especially even the last 6 months, I can't do it anymore. And yeah, it was hard. It was hard making that call yesterday. It was really hard facing those fears in myself, those old stories of wanting to come up in my brain. This is another failure. This is another thing that didn't work out. This is another thing you poured yourself into and it didn't go. And I'm choosing not to believe those stories. It was a lesson, and maybe it was just that. I'm the meaning maker in my life. And so I'm choosing not to make meaning around it, or buy into any of those old stories that plagued me and hurt and kept me down for so long. So I'm choosing to frame it in something totally new. And I am so amped because I have no freaking clue what I'm going to do next week, but it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be just for me.
Wow. Josh, Ritcher, I want to ask you in this moment, how do you feel right now? Describe the physical feeling that's going on within you.
It's like tingling on the inside. That I woke up this morning with possibilities in mind. Jay, I told you on the side, I started clock watching. I've never been a clock watcher in my life. I've been very fortunate to have a beautiful career that's very creative, and I love what I do, and I pour myself into it. I started watching the clock for the first time in my life, and that's when I was like, "Whoa, this isn't it. This isn't my joy."
Yeah, I noticed a few things happening as an observer. The first one was that you reached out, not for help, but just to have someone to just kind of not dump, but just express and share the inner static that was going on up here, and how to navigate through that part of all of the what ifs, all the scenarios, all of the inner dialogue that you know and I know and everyone in this podcast knows very rarely serves us in a healthy way. And then the second thing you did was you took some time. You didn't just react. I mean, this has been coming for a couple of months now. And so you actually took some steps a couple of months ago to create some healthy boundaries for yourself and express what you needed in that relationship.
Yep.
And then you trusted. You kind of went back to the work. But when you hit that next level of awareness, that you've now reached that point where you're now dreading the night before, knowing that when you wake up, you got to be back at it, and or you're watching the clock. You became the master of your domain. Even when you acknowledge that, what does that mean financially?
Yeah.
And what I love about the process that you went through was that you had the courage to step into it, knowing that right now you don't know, and to be at peace with that. And I just love watching and witnessing and being able to, as a friend to you and Jeff and Ev, when those opportunities come up, and even for myself to know that we never have to feel alone, ever feel alone as a man. That we have what some refer to as fellowship. We have a relationship where we trust one another. And it's been such a beautiful gift for us to hold space for you, Josh, through this moment. And for you to have courage to step into your own domain and take it back. Take back your power. I love that.
I'm so very grateful for all of you and this space. I've grown a lot, and it's been a beautiful journey. And it's not without its bumps, and that's what tonight's show was about. Was how to be okay when you're not okay. And so here we are.
So the first thing I did, Josh, was I said, come out to Arizona. Let's go on. Let's do some hiking. Let's get out in nature. Let's detach from all of that. So no, let's go in so we can get out. And I think Carrie Crary actually said she comes in from Scottsdale, Arizona. She said, come out for a hike, Josh. So you've got two invites now to just get out of your head and get into your heart.
Right. I get to ask tomorrow morning, what do I want to do?
There you go.
And that I gave that to myself. And I think that's the biggest thing I've ever given myself after a lifetime of living for others. So here we go.
Beautiful. Vanessa, what do you make of all this man talk going on here between Josh and I right now?
I just feel so soft and just emotional, and just deeply acknowledging how you are acknowledging your brother. And Josh, how you're also acknowledging yourself in this process and what the journey has been like for you. It's beautiful to be a witness to the conversation and just the space holding that's happening for each other. And the fact that you get to be on this journey all together in this way. What you did is not easy by any means. And it's an initiation. It's an initiation into yourself, into the next level of who you're becoming. And I feel like it's often when it's those scary moments like this where, we're losing out on something. The mind is thinking, oh, I'm losing out on the money, or I'm losing out on having this or that it's the biggest initiation, because you've taken the leap and the net is going to appear there. And you're not willing to compromise or bend yourself into a pretzel anymore to please others or be on a journey that other people are dictating for you. You're doing this for yourself. So the fact that you had so much trust and faith in yourself and in your journey speaks leaps and bounds of who you are and the work that you've done. So I feel really blessed to, be here and to meet you at this time in your life and to be a part of, the witnessing of this new chapter that you've powerfully stepped into. Like, bravo. It's amazing.
All right. So now, Vanessa, you're up in the hot seat right now. My understanding is you're not from Nashville, although you are in Nashville now. My understanding is, well, it's your story to tell, but have you just recently stepped into becoming the master of your own domain and making a pretty significant change in your life as far as the city and state that you live in?
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, we just moved here at the end of November. We lived in Southern California, my husband and myself and our 2 dogs, but I'm actually not even from the US, originally I'm from Canada. So I made a huge giant leap in 2015. I literally got on a plane. I said bye to my parents. I thought I was, coming back in 5 weeks. Little did I know I wouldn't see my parents for a year later, and I was getting my green card. And I got married in that time that I was away to he was my boyfriend then, now husband. And so I started my life in Santa Monica, then to San Diego, and then we lived in San Diego and Carlsbad area for several years. And it's always my dream to live in California, and I loved it. But the last couple of years, I could feel this sense of misalignment living there, that there was something else that was brewing inside of me. And, I could feel this uneasiness for a while, but there was also just this total lack of clarity. Like, I knew we needed to move. And just something to share, like as a backstory, I've had a really hard time my entire life feeling where home is. It's been a struggle of mine since I was a kid. I grew up in Canada. I had a beautiful life there, but there was something about living there that never felt like home. And even when I was in California, when the dream came true, it was this amazing experience. But then again, there was something that felt like it's been missing for me. And so when we left California in October, we put everything in a pod. I had no idea what the heck we were doing, other than I thought we were going to move to Austin, Texas. And my husband and I and our dogs and a bunch of our belongings with a cargo bag on top, went on this big journey, and we're living out of, our suitcases for, almost a couple months. And it was exciting, but also extremely frustrating. Just not to know where home was. And, when we arrived here, there was a sense of, I think we've landed somewhere special, and everything, it happened so quickly for us to even move here. I honestly didn't even think we had a moment to even really think about it and analyze. Everything just lined up for us to move here, and here we are. And I'm still in this space of, oh, I'm living in Nashville. This is so interesting. Like, how did I get here? I'm here now. Is this home? Are we going to be here for a long time? Like, are we going to permanently put down roots here? And so it's been a very vulnerable kind of scenario to be in, especially with everything going on in the world. There's just a real desire to have this sense of being around people that we are close with and connected with. And we're starting over here. We don't know barely anybody here. And we had the option of living somewhere else in Austin where we knew a lot more people, but we chose it here for a reason. So, it's a beautiful space to be in, because I do trust my path, and I trust my journey of why we're here. But it's also been a very difficult and challenging journey to get here too, and to feel that sense of stability and home that I've been really craving. Especially because I'm far away from family and all of that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, and just still settling into what it feels like to make a home here in a new place again, and being like, wow, I didn't think I would be here at this point in my life. I thought I would have already been settled and, had my home and feeling like there's roots, and, I'm still discovering that, but I've made peace with it. I think that is something that last few months kind of come into a state of acceptance, and it's removed that resistance of, well, I thought I would be here and I'm not, and then shaming myself for it and making myself guilty for not having what my mind might think is my shit all together. And I've got everything figured out of how my life is going to work out over the next 2, 5, 10 years, you know? So yeah.
Love that, sister. I got one question, sister, and I think going, you know, like what you're talking about there, you know, Brother Josh has just opened up about, you know, walking into this unknown, these uncertain times that we're all going through. What are some of the things that you share with a couple of people that you help on their journeys to help them lean into, to actually come from a space that there is a little bit of knowing within their own lives?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Evis. I love it because I'm always talking about the unknown and the uncertainty with clients. And I think it's changing our relationship to that, because I think as humans, we believe we have so much control over everything in our lives. We like almost have control over pretty much nothing. And
Right.
and it's scary for people to let go of that sense of control that they believe they have. And, you know, one of the things that's been so important in my life, and I know that everybody's journey is different, but especially with the people that come and work with me, has been developing my spirituality. I mean, that is a huge anchor for me of establishing and really creating a healthy relationship with what I define as the divine or God or source. Because without that, I have felt rudderless, like I'm just a boat at sea with no GPS. So the more that I have, you know, taught clients and, you know, shared my journey, and I've been on this path of what it means to be spiritual, because I was brought up Catholic, and then let go of all of that. That did not resonate for me. And in my early 20s, I became atheist. I shed all sense of spirituality. And in that time of my life, it was really about, well, what does spirituality mean? It's like I had to clear out what, you know, was projected onto me, what I was taught, what was conditioned, in order for me to discover what it actually means for myself. And I think that that's such an important part of our journey into the unknown, and trusting that space, that void of uncertainty and unknown. It's really like establishing a sense of what does it mean to have some sort of spirituality in your life where you aren't alone, right? And you're not just this person that's just aimlessly lost through life with no direction or purpose.
Right.
So, you know, it's been a big thing. And then I'm obviously like teaching people how to be using their intuition and listening to their body's signals. Like our bodies are always giving us information, and are we listening to it is the question, you know, like we have to teach ourselves to do that. I at least had never learned that growing up. I don't know about you guys.
Totally.
Yeah. So for someone that's been, you know, suffering a lot of trauma, pain, difficulty within their life, sister, how do they trust their body?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because if the body doesn't feel safe, it's hard to trust. So if you've experienced a lot of trauma, I mean, part of this is the path of healing through the trauma. And I know I am such an advocate for people to get good professional support with somebody who really embodies integrity and a background that is trauma informed, who has the ability to help you walk yourself home into feeling safe within your body, because it's not something that is just one and done, right? Oh, I can feel these emotions and I feel safe in my body. Like this, it's a process. So, you know, I'm aware that for many people in the world, you know, listening to their body, it's a foreign place because it's not safe. And so we have to find that sense of safety from within ourselves. And also developing a sense of trust with somebody who can really help us in the process of healing, you know, those traumas that we've experienced over the course of a lifetime.
Sure.
Beautiful.
Ev, I'm going to put you in a hot seat right now, and I'm going to ask you, when was the last decision that you made to take back, empower yourself to be more of a master of your own domain? How long ago was that? And how did that work out for you? And how did you navigate through that?
I think when I let everything go back 5 years ago, before we come into contact, Jay, where I let, my former business, having the gym, brick and mortar, to come and bring everything onto the online space was the really big one. Because I was in a bit of shame, because through the separation that I went through, I kept it to myself. I was in a little bit of shame. I didn't know how to speak to everyone that was at that gym. So there was a bit of embarrassment and all those other feelings that come along with it. And until I really opened up, I had to come back to myself and take back that power. But that's what really threw me into being the master of my domain. Because what I'd actually realized in that pause of letting everything go, letting the place I was currently living at, letting the gym go, letting all those beautiful people that were under my wings through that space go, was that I actually came back home to self. So when I became the master of domain, it was really when I became more reconnected back to self. Because what I didn't realize over those good 5 years that gym was up is that my power was given out to so many people, places, and things. I was running on autopilot, man. So it really was a blessing in disguise, and it really turned on, some of those things that the sister's talking about, like that intuition, for me, and be able to reconnect back to myself and, get a closer connection back on country as well. Me and Jay the Rothman, we're always out in nature. And, in my culture, that was something I was disconnected from as well. So when I came back to my mastery of my domain, I found that, it was the self-awareness. It was being able to really learn some of the lessons that I had to take from the separation itself. It was, learning better connections through relationships, and really understanding that better relationship with myself that I'd really lost.
And Ev, what stories were you battling with at that point?
Oh man, there were plenty of stories. It went into nearly like a victim state. What about me? Why me? All of those stories that we can easily fall into. Am I not enough? Which really took me on the journey, like I've mentioned in previous shows, of the abandonment in childhood. So I received the lesson. I got permission to receive the lesson. And I simply moved forward from that. I had no idea that I was going to be on this space, talking to some beautiful brothers and sisters on across the other side of the pond 4 years down the track. But I had trust, and I slipped into the hands of the divine.
Beautiful.
I want to transition us in this moment here. As Jeff, I think we got your audio up and hopefully cleared out a little bit of the white noise in the background. Thank you for that. I want to just take a moment here just to acknowledge a few things. One is, if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday. That's June. June is one of our beautiful viewers coming in from your home country of Canada, Vanessa. You're celebrating a
Happy birthday, June.
I just want to take a moment here just to honor you, and just, I hope you've had a beautiful day honoring and celebrating just you, June. And for those of you that may have family members or yourself that are navigating through illness, through disease, even through the pandemic, COVID right now, we've got at least one of our co-hosts today here while they are in the throes of a COVID diagnosis. And so that is someone showing up, being the master of their own domain, even when they're not feeling well. It's a choice to be here. He didn't have to be here tonight, but he chose to show up. Due to HIPAA laws, I am not going to disclose who it is unless he decides he wants to disclose his own illness. That's not, I don't want to cross that boundary here. Even though we talk our truth and we talk smack, but we do it with honor and respect. And so thank you all for being here tonight. Happy birthday. And for those of you, I've had many family members in the last couple of weeks that have been navigating through COVID. Lots of prayers and wishes for complete 100% healing to take place. And moving right along, as we are coming up to 20 minutes before the hour, I want to challenge each one of you on a question that's come forward, which is, how can we as men and women inspire each other to rise up? Jeff, what do you think? What is our role as a way shower? How can we inspire friends or family members that we are observing are struggling, or they're surviving and they're not quite thriving? What can we do to help inspire them?
Well, I think it just comes back to being who we are and knowing who we are and being in that power. When we talk about powerfulness, stand in your power, stand in your powerfulness. That powerfulness is knowing who we are. It's as simple as that. So if we shift, and we've talked about this many times on this show, we shift the relationship we're having with ourselves. We move in, we begin to clear out the wounding, we start to heal that, and we start to gain a greater depth of sense of self. Now, when we do that, we gain a sense of power within ourselves. I know who I am. So that's the powerfulness of self. And then when we're being that, we shift our energy, because it's all about energy. We've said that many times. Our energy shifts. It shifts from pushing our energy at people to keep them away, or tugging or pulling on their energy to make us feel more loved. When we stand as an autonomous adult in our power of knowing who we are, then we're being it. And then we're being who we are. We begin to, like Josh did, make decisions that are for our highest good. We champion our own highest good. It always starts inside. We've said this on almost 90 shows. It starts within us. And when we do that, people will automatically say, oh, wow, you've changed. What is that? And what we've done really is just gained a greater and deeper sense of who we are, and a greater, deeper sense of love and of self.
Beautiful.
Love the magic, brother.
And I don't know about you guys, but for most of my adult life, I wasn't in that space, and I was seeking that validation, and I wasn't enough just being me. And so, yeah, it's I feel a lot of people out there. I feel your pain and that struggle between needing that acceptance and love, and bending on what's right for us, or bending on what we know we want to do, but going the other way instead, to get that love and acceptance that we so desperately want to give ourselves.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to propose this next deep question, which is, how can our masculine and feminine divine within impact the quality of pivoting from surviving to thriving? What role does the feminine and masculine energy or divine within each of us, what role does that play in this process? What do you think, Vanessa?
Yeah, I mean, we all have a masculine and feminine energy within us, just in case this is like a newer concept for some of the people watching. The masculine, if you want to look at it, is like the part of us that holds our power. It's like the part of us that holds and allows for safety. For the feminine part of ourselves, our emotions, our intuition, for us to soften, for us to open. It's the protective part of ourselves. I always liken this, the inner masculine, or the divine masculine within us, is the part of ourselves that has boundaries and that can hold boundaries, and allows the feminine, which is more of the intuitive, the emotional, nurturing side to us to safely open. And one of the things that I think is just so necessary and so powerful, and it's about mastering our domain and just being human at this point, like being okay with not being okay, is holding space for ourselves to allow whatever wants to come up emotionally to come up, and to not push it down or avoid it or repress it or make ourselves wrong, like judging ourselves for feeling a certain way. There's something very liberating when we can actually just be with ourselves in whatever state or whatever emotion we're in, and knowing that all is welcome, right? Like all is welcome. I mean, we live in a society that's shunned, I think, these more negative emotions. And, you know, I see it so much with the toxic positivity and with a lot of spiritual bypassing in, you know, the new age world and spiritual world, where it's like, it's not okay to be angry. It's not okay to be sad or to grieve or, you know, to feel these, you know, lower vibrational, you know, emotions, but the divine put them there for a reason. And I'm a firm believer that the more that we can hold ourselves in the discomfort and the feelings that are harder to be with, the more we also allow ourselves to feel joy on the other side of that. Like we increase our range for the emotions we can feel also on the positive end. So for me, like the biggest lesson with the feminine and masculine right now is like, how much can you hold yourself and love yourself and be with yourself, even when you're not okay and you're crumbling and you're falling apart or your life is falling apart, because a lot of people's lives are in upheaval right now. There's just so much change happening. And we've got to find a way to walk each other home, but also walk ourselves home in the process back to our hearts and back to ourselves.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that, sister.
Take a moment here just to let that drop down.
Yeah, man.
Seriously.
Ev, what do you make of that?
Absolutely beautiful. And that the whole idea of self-acceptance, and, you know, for me to really make sure that we're able to be this master or that we're talking about of your domain, it really is about inner balance. It's about finding the balance in that divine feminine and sacred masculine energy. You know, me personally, man, I can easily get into that masculine energy, and there's some days where I can really feel my body burning out. But when I balance out those beautiful divine feminine energies, when I go into nature and I just sit in those emotions that Vanessa's talking about, and just be with myself and hold that space that she's talking about, then I'm really starting to balance out both those particular energies. So it's one thing to know this, my brothers and sisters, and have this sort of knowledge and, you know, be able to get these experts on this show and give us some beautiful tools to take away. But to really make this balance within our lives through these energies, we have to do it through action and behavior. I can't say that enough. So it may take times when we're going to have to repeat this for days on end, just so that your body starts to believe you from all of the other stuff that you may have been repeating on autopilot from years before.
Yeah.
And you guys both brought up a beautiful point in that we often, you know, discomfort is uncomfortable and we want to change it. But wanting to change something is the opposite of accepting and loving it. And so we also, too, can't stay in perpetual happiness. These are emotions, they ebb and flow, the good and the bad. And reminding ourselves that they're temporary in the moment has done so much for me, especially in peak times of being triggered or in extreme discomfort from a situation that's going on in my life, extreme sadness or depression, and all of that, is that it's temporary too. And it actually feels better to love and honor ourselves in that moment and to be with it, like both of you were talking about, and love that. And then we can move through it easier. There's not that resistance. And then we also relieve ourselves from all of that shame.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Which is just, then that makes it doubly hard. When we're already feeling like crap, if we're trying to desperately change, then we're just saying that that's not okay.
Yeah.
We need a hug in that moment, not somebody yelling at us to shape up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to invite all of us to give Josh Ritcher right now a
Virtual hug, man. Virtual
I'll
hug,
give
brother.
myself a
Virtual
hug,
man.
There you go. There you go.
I'd like
God,
a hug.
what's
I'd like
that,
a
Jeff?
hug.
Yeah.
I'd like a hug, but nobody's allowed near me right now.
Are your cats there, Jeff? Are your cats there, brother?
They are.
All
Good.
right.
You're never
Good,
alone,
man.
then, my friend.
Carrie Crary coming in from, again, Scottsdale, Arizona area. She says, I love how the more you live within yourself, you care less what others think matter.
Mhm.
I mean, that is, it's easy for us to say that, but how many of us are able to navigate through that? And when we are stuck in that mud, what is it really there to show us about ourselves? It's really there to show us that there's a shadow around our self-worth, our self-value, our ability to have enough love for ourselves to care less about what other people think, how other people see us. I get to witness that. It's pretty interesting when I do hike and heel experiences in the mountains here, and I invite my guests for over a 3-hour period to do some pretty extensive work in nature, but sometimes people pass by because I don't own the trail. So it's a public trail in a national forest. And it's so interesting as an observer to watch how some people get so body language, so uptight, so uncomfortable when I'm leading them on let's say a mantra or another couple of things that I do in that moment to really reach them at their heart or soul space. And I lose them in that moment because they're so concerned about how they're going to be interpreted or received by someone they don't even know. But the beautiful thing that comes forward for the majority of those people, those guests, is that in that moment, it may be one of the first times in their life where they stay with it and stay with me. And they have these massive breakthroughs because they realize, maybe for the first time in their life, that it doesn't matter what other people think. The only thing that matters is what you think of yourself, how you see yourself.
Yeah.
Are you more worried about how the outer world perceives you than being who you are and what is important to you?
Boom.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, as we come up on the hour, we got about 8 minutes here. I wanted to just take a moment here just to thank you, Vanessa, for joining us this evening. I hope you enjoyed this little journey with us 4 men.
I did.
You are in a very sacred space here. I believe you may be our 5th female guest to join us over the past 89 episodes now, and so it's a special place, and that's what makes you special, that you had the courage to step in to Real Men Real Talk and engage in this conversation. I would like to ask you, having now spent a couple of 2.5, close to 3 hours with us between the production meeting, the pre-show warm up, and now here. And now when I say warm up, we're not reviewing notes. There are no notes. We speak from our heart. We don't come in from our headspace. So, what has this been like for you? And what did you learn about yourself that you may not have known prior to saying yes to the invitation to join us this night?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much again for having me. It's a great honor to be with the 4 of you, and it really truly is a sacred space that you've created. I feel so relaxed. I've felt so welcomed from the moment I was invited into this space with all of you, and it can be intimidating as a woman coming into a show that's already established, and you're all strong, wise, souls and men. And, you know, as a woman coming in, you don't know what it's going to be like. You don't know what people's personalities are going to be like. And it's just been a really beautiful experience coming into this the last couple evenings with you four. So thank you so much for inviting me, and also voice for the feminine to share in your episodes as well, because, you know, this is your show. It's about real men and, you know, having these authentic conversations. So I appreciate you on behalf of all the feminine, you know, inviting, you know, people like myself on here to have this conversation. I'm reminded, you know, just listening, you know, I'm interviewed very often and have been in the media and all that for the work I've been doing. And there's just a real sense of always feeling like you have to be on as like an expert, or, you know, like I've got to make sure that I'm talking about my niche and my market and all these things. And what I really have loved about this space is just the invitation to just be just be myself, and to be vulnerable, and to have this authentic conversation as we've had it. It's very refreshing. And it's beautiful to be able to witness and hear about everybody's journeys, and to be able to share from that space, the personal journey, which is where I think the greatest lessons and learnings happen, is in our own lives on a day-to-day level. So it's just been really a beautiful reminder of how necessary vulnerability and just relating, connecting with one another, just as we are as humans, that there's just so much wisdom in that, you know. And I think that more of this needs to be happening on a regular basis for human beings to know not alone.
Beautiful. Any personal takeaways as far as anything you learned about yourself in this moment? And there is no right or wrong answer. There's only one answer, which is always the truth.
Yeah, totally. I think just that, you know, just coming back to, you know, I think we're most magnetic, and I'm most magnetic when I'm just in my beingness. I'm just been really reminded of that, like just listening to each of you and watching, you know, when you're speaking about your journeys, there's like a magnetism there. I can see the draw of why people love to be with all of you for 89 episodes, because there's a realness there. And that's what the world just continues to crave, is the realness. And so, you know, one of the things I was thinking about earlier before the show was, how can I strip even more of any of the masks that I'm wearing? Like, where can I allow myself to be exposed safely, not in a way to be controversial, right? Or oh, I need to be authentic because that's the trending thing to do. It's more like how can I just continue to allow myself to be more seen with all the fullness of who I am, you know, just being.
Beautiful.
You know, even when my hair is up and I got my glasses on and I don't have, you know, lashes and makeup, you know, or you know, it's like just being more seen. I think we really need to integrate ourselves into that. And I think that's where a big lesson for me. It's just a nice reminder of how can I continue to be even more real with the people in my life and with my audience and with other human beings.
Thank you, sister. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. This is so beautiful.
Josh, I'm gonna give you. Josh, I'm gonna invite you in this moment here to close us out tonight. Closing thoughts. What's on your mind? What's on your mind? What's in your heart? More so.
What's in my heart is I would love everybody to close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in. And slowly exhale. And I wanted you to focus your energy right down in the middle of your chest, in your heart. And I want you to, for a moment, to imagine laughing with a friend. The thrill of jumping on the back of a motorcycle for the first time, or stepping on the gas a little too hard in that new car you're test driving, feeling that rush. That excitement, that feeling inside of us, we can give that to ourselves too. And that joy, that tingling, that excitement for life can be ours. And we're the ones that can give it to ourselves. And I believe in all of you. And I know you can too. Because I was never this person either. So go out there, take your power, find your joy, be your joy, live your joy, and smile all the way through it. Because we love you all and we're cheering you on right here.
Ooh, wow. Josh, you got me.
Beautiful, brother.
Thank you.
I love you guys. Vanessa, thanks for joining us this evening on Real Talk Live. We'll catch you next week. Peace and blessings. Love you all. Stay healthy. Get out in nature. Do some self-care. Eat healthy. Drink enough water. Connect. Connect with self. Connect with others. Begin the process of coming home to yourself. Peace and blessings. Love you all.